Do you ever just feel exhausted, beat up by life? I could sure use the coffee right now. What the? Quick Trip coffee? Oh my God, that's exactly what I needed! Today's video is brought to you by Quick Trip Coffee. Be quick, have a trip, Quick Trip. Hello, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the Synco G2 A2 wireless lavalier mic. Welcome back to another video. Today we're covering wireless lavalier mics. What we have in front of us is going to be the Synco G2 A2. Bear with me, there's a couple variations, the G1 A1, G1 A2. There's also the G2 A1, G2 A2, but focusing on the Synco G2 A2, which we have here in front of us. We're also going to be doing a comparison of the different audios from the Synco audio that we have currently. We also have a shotgun mic here on this side camera. We're also going to listen to audio from directly inside our camera of the EOS R and the Canon 80D. But before we do, I would like to invite y'all to check out the links in the drop down section below, where you will find affiliate links as well as some coupon codes to several cool websites that at no extra cost to you help directly support the channel by clicking on those links and using the coupon codes. And feel free to check out our Patreon. So diving right in, we have the Synco G2 A2. We have the receiver wired up to the camera in front to what you're listening to currently. And the second transmitters is here in my pocket, and we have a wired connection that is here on my lapel. So looking at the Synco G2 A2 box and the single transmitter that we have left, it's not really tucked away very well. Let's go and try that again. And the Synco G2 A2 transmitter that we have in this box, look at that. Wow, so nice that we have here. It comes with several items within the box. It's going to be the two transmitters, the one receiver, several variations of wires depending on what it is, and you also have two wire extensions that you can plug into the transmitters. You also have some dead cats that if you do not want to use the wired setup to your lavalier mic, you also have a dead cat that you plug directly on top, and then you get that fuzzy cool little dead cat up on top. They are a little easy to remove, which I wish that there was a little bit more of a retention system to them. I have them falling off every now and then if I have this on my collar and I move around, then next thing I know they kind of just fall off and fumble. But outside that, but you do have that option should you choose to do so. And they also provide you with a multi-phase charger where you can plug all three of your two transmitters and your single receiver on one end, and you would plug it into your charging device on the other. That way you can charge them all together at the same time, have them all charged and ready to go without having to charge one, remove it, put another, and wait for all those to charge up. For a single charge, which we have yet to time the charge time from absolutely depleted to the full charge, but on a single charge, Synco states that you get up to 8 hours of use, and that is definitely a positive, and I can see that being the case because we've used this setup for previous videos. We already have about 5 or 6 that we've used this, and we've only charged them once in between. And there was a couple where I left them on in between going to one location to another, and they held their charge for a fairly long time. We currently have this one that's a little depleted. It's on yellow, so we switched to the other one, which you don't use. This is a dual channel system, meaning you have A and B channel, and you can record either in stereo or in mono, whichever you prefer. Before continuing on to some additional specs, the main differences between the models and the versions of the Synco G1 and the G2 is that the G2 has this TFT display, which is gonna allow you to see what's happening on the screen and with your microphones. The G1 does not have a TFT display, but it does have a small LED at the top of it, which will let you know what function you are currently using. Now, regarding the second half of the A1 or A2, that is going to signify what you're getting in regards to the transmitter. The A1 on both the G1 version and the G2, what we have in front of us, is that you have a single transmitter and then a single receiver. And then with the A2 description, it's going to signify that you have 2 transmitters and 1 receiver, which is great for interviews, where we went out to enjoy some coffee and some donuts at the infamous Round Rock Donuts here in Round Rock, Texas. And that is a really great benefit. Regarding distance on how far you can be from your microphone, from the receiver on your recording device, that Synco states you can get up to 330 feet line of sight. What does that mean? That if I'm 330 feet and I have the camera directly in front of you with no obstruction between me and the receiver, you should still get clear quality of sound. That I could be 150 feet away from it and all of a sudden stand behind a tree, behind a car, it may interrupt the sound. We did test this with distance of 330 feet of clear line of sight. Granted, it was fairly windy today when we decided to do the test, so it can't be an affirmative test as to the quality. Mic'd up here on the top, paired to our Synco G2 one of the transmitters. We're walking all the way back here. It is pretty windy. That it has a line of sight distance marketed at 330 feet. Now we're going to be walking approximately 290 feet from where the camera is. It's extremely windy, so this may not be an accurate test to the capability of the Synco G3, of the Synco G2, but it would still be nice to see just how much wind picked up. That we do have that low filter right now. We will distance, map, meters, no, feet. Done. Zoom in on where we're at to where the camera is. Ruler. That according to this app, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit more. Continue. That's as, oh, let's move. That's as much as it's going to allow us to move. So according to where the camera's at, it's putting us at a from the fire lane park. And if that's the case, the audio should have shuttered somewhat, either broken in, broken out, or just been a little bit of some sort of interference. But now that we're walking, we're well within that 330 foot range. It'd be interesting to see if it picked it back up, that once you're out of range, it drops it, but when you're back in range, I wonder if the connection is reestablished, we'll pick up audio once again. So this was the distance test with the Synco lavalier mic with the Synco wireless microphone, but we have the lavalier extension attached to it, which means that we just have a wired extension to the wireless. And back to you in the studio, Dave. Once we reached our 330 feet in approximation, that we used an app to judge the distance of where we were at, but it still seemed to pick it up. But up until the point we began moving is when it would have that stammer or stutter within the audio pickup. But but again, we have used this. It is very nice to have a wireless setup that goes and connects with the. We were also curious if that line of sight would be affected in shorter distances with, let's say, a very thick concrete wall. We decided to try and test that on our way to go get coffee earlier this morning. And we walked into Dutch Bros where there's a fairly thick wall of concrete, and we placed our order. And I was extremely surprised that it did work. For some reason, I was expecting it to not work, but it performed flawlessly. Probably going to be 10, 15 feet at most between the camera, microphone, and where we're ordering right behind this wall. But there is a good amount of concrete and brick right behind it. So we're going to see just how well it does. If the camera doesn't turn off, that is. Why do I have hair everywhere? It's not even my hair. Hi, good morning, ma'am.
What we're feeling this morning?
Let's do the caramel cold brew, or yeah, cold brew caramel, I think is what it is. And if we could do soft top.
Yeah. Did you want that nitro or regular?
Regular, please, ma'am.
Why do you have a mic?
Oh, I'm testing out a microphone.
Oh.
Because I'm doing, it's supposed to go 330 feet line of sight, but since I was getting coffee, I was like, let me see, because my van's literally out here, and I want to see if, this is probably 10, 15 feet, if the concrete will affect it. So that way it's just a way to test it, since I was getting coffee. Because it's I forgot to ask for a large. So, did it pick back up? Did we ever lose it when we went inside? That was an interesting exchange. Receiver on your recording device versus having an extremely long extension that you would run to your shotgun mic and run it up to your shirt, whatever you're wearing. Or if you were to pick up an external audio recorder, you could either have this as is and record from the recorder itself, or you can have a lavalier extension, or you can have a wired setup where you plug into the top of it, run the other side to your shirt or whoever is speaking, and then you would have to sync them up in post. That is where you see a lot of markers or people clapping. I just find it a lot easier to go ahead and incorporate the audio pickup directly to the video so I know exactly where it's at and I don't have to mess with setting it up in post and syncing the two together. Now, taking a look at with the TFT display, one of the downsides of it is that as convenient as it is to have that in any outside conditions, we had a pretty heavy overcast today and it was still fairly difficult to see, and by fairly I mean it was difficult. Even if you were to cover the screen and try to see what's in there, it's doable, but you have to concentrate somewhat. If it's sunny, it's going to be even more difficult, but it is nice to see exactly what's going on the screen with your audio levels. You can also see it on your recording device. Right now we have our LED screen. Right now we have our display screen on the camera showing so we can see the audio pickup. But if you want to see it when you turn it on, it is very nice to have that. The G1 does not have that. That's one of the reasons we decided to go with the G2. Another neat function of this, that it does have a low pass filter on it, which what it does is it cuts out lower frequencies less than 150 hertz, such as your room air conditioning if you have a small fan going. And then you also have a single button press, which is going to be the same as the power button to mute it. So you're going to go ahead and depress that to mute it, and then you look at the LED screen, you can see that it has been muted. And there is also a line going through the microphone icon to let you know that it is muted. So once you unmute it, single press, and you can see that it has come back. It is picking up my voice. Now we're going to take a look at that low cut filter just to show you what it does. We're going to go ahead and remove the low cut filter and be quiet. And there's still some sort of ambient noise being picked up by the microphone. And so if we were to press it again to enable the low hertz filter, it is no longer there. You also have a gain control of 0 to 5 levels, which you would select on the receiver portion of it. And you have the 0, which goes from a 0, which is what it's currently on. You have +3, +6, +9, +12, and up to +15. When we were setting these up, we did have a small issue on the smoothness of getting them set up, that we were only able to connect one, and when we were trying to connect the second, we would lose connection with the first, and it continued for a little bit. But something else that we noticed regarding the clip that is behind that, it just allows you to secure it. You could either secure it to a shirt. If you just wanted to go and attach it as so, you can run it on the collar of a shirt, and then run it with the dead cat if you don't want to run a wired setup. But was that the clip on the back? It also serves as the hot shoe mount, is how you would connect to the hot shoe. So here we have our GoPro set up with the hot shoe mount on top, and you would just slide it in there and then it stays secured. That it's pretty secure on there. Depressing it does slide a little bit. You just go ahead and slide that back. But that is how you would mount it on the hot shoe. We have it set up like that. And taking a look at how you would wire it, is you have the microphone in section on your transmitter. You would go and plug that in with the appropriate wiring. And then you would get the opposing end of the 3.5mm jack, and then you would plug it into your device's mic port. And that is how it's set up with a hot shoe mount. But what if your device does not have a hot shoe mount? Depending on what you're doing, I don't advise this for if you're trying to do this with your motorcycle. We do a lot of motovlogs, so if it was in that application, it probably wouldn't work. Here we have our Insta360. In order to run a microphone jack, you do need a 3.5mm adapter. Go ahead and plug that in. And now what you would do is plug in the 3.5mm end from your transmitter into the Insta360 adapter, but then you are left with this doodad just hanging around. What we do when we have it inside the van is just plug it in. is just clip it onto there and we let it dangle. And it's good for that application, but if we were in outdoor conditions and had this outside the van and this was moving around, I would not feel comfortable with this, as I feel it may come undone and then just start flapping around. We may lose one transmitter. The time that we've had with Synco wireless system has been extremely pleasant. I've enjoyed using them. I really enjoy having the wireless setup because I can set my camera in one place and not have to worry or overestimate the capabilities of certain microphones. The Deity Mic Pro is a great mic, but for the shotgun mic, even with the dead cat on it, I overestimated what it could do in heavier winding conditions, and it sometimes wouldn't come through as much as I did. That's not to blame the quality of it. It's just that it perhaps was not the appropriate equipment for that particular time and place within those conditions. Now, in closing, we're going to go ahead and take a listen to different microphones, starting with the Synco G2 A2. We have a single transmitter is what we're going on, which is wired directly to my shirt. We're going to go ahead and disconnect the lavalier wired mic, and now we're talking directly into the unit itself, and we're going to go ahead and apply the dead cat and see if there's any difference. And now that we have the dead cat onto it, do you notice a difference in the quality of sound? Is it a little crisper? Is it a little bit more? Is there a little bit more of a refined quietness to it? Now we're going to go ahead and remove the low pass filter. It has now been removed. And this is without the low pass filter. We're going to go ahead and be quiet for a little bit. The AC just kicked on. Now we're talking directly into the Deity Mic Pro here off screen. It does have the dead cat on it. We're going to go ahead and see if it picks up any wind noise that we're talking directly into. And now we are talking directly into the audio from Canon EOS R. This is the in-camera mic. Is there a nice sound to it? And here is the audio from the Canon 80D, which is our side camera here. And with that, we conclude our video on the Synco G2 A2 wireless microphone. Now, where would you find a link to those microphones? Down below, where you will find our Amazon affiliate links at no extra cost to you, which help directly support the channel. And that is going to do it for us today for this week's video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all found joy from it. If y'all did, be sure to hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, appreciate y'all. Cheers. Adios.